The main character of the story is named Tanaka, and Tanaka is so lazy that he has to let his best friend Oota carry him to class every day, but for his classmates, this has already become normal. Seeing that Tanaka was just sitting there, refusing to do his homework, Oota went to remind him, but it turned out that he was researching the most comfortable way to support his chin. When it comes to self-management, Tanaka just wants to sleep and not do anything, but the girls sitting next to the window block the wind, making it impossible for him to relax. As soon as the other friends left, the wind blew in, making Tanaka so high that he felt numb, and due to sleeping in the wrong position, he fell and twisted his spine. Although he is a lazy guy, but Tanaka is very concerned about his health, because he wants to train well so that he can be lazy later. However, when it's gym class, Tanaka warms up slowly like grandparents do, and he even comes up with new moves to make it easier than everyone else. Soon after, Tanaka was teamed up with Oota to play badminton with two classmates, and just as he entered the match, Oota hit a terrible blow that no one could block. Seeing that, Tanaka also wanted to try a hit like Oota, but unexpectedly he threw the whole racket in the faces of his two friends, so everyone let him off the field to avoid a serious accident. Regret. Tanaka felt very hungry even though he didn't do anything hard during gym class, so he and Oota bought some bread to eat, but his mouth was cut by the bread crust. For eating but not chewing. Tanaka realizes that in addition to training for a healthy body, it is also necessary to have a good mind, so he decided to practice more chanting to train his mind. Tanaka said that he doesn't want to be the main character in his life, because being the main character has to solve all the problems all the time is very painful, while the supporting character doesn't have to. Nothing heavy and no one noticed. Tanaka noticed that Oota was good at helping people as well as being the center of attention, so he decided to stick around as Oota's supporting character for the rest of his life. The next day, Oota suddenly noticed that Tanaka seemed more emotionless than usual, even when drinking from the faucet he forgot to open his mouth. At lunchtime, Tanaka refused to eat, so Oota tried to feed him, but he refused Oota's help while he was very hungry. When it was time for music class, the teacher gave Tanaka the task of playing the guitar so that her classmates could sing, but Tanaka's music turned a beautiful countryside into a dead land, and when the teacher accidentally touching Tanaka's cheek, he yelled at the teacher. Later that day, Oota discovered that Tanaka was actually suffering from tooth decay, so Oota immediately took Tanaka to the dentist to have his teeth checked, and he vowed to take care of his teeth. Better not to affect your laziness anymore. Tanaka went to the temple near his house early in the morning to beg for a peaceful day, but as soon as he got to school, a girl in his class named Miyano asked to be his disciple, because she wanted to learn to live a carefree life like Tanaka. Tanaka immediately refused because he found Miyano quite annoying, but she insisted on becoming his disciple no matter what, so he had to agree because of a quarrel. A lot is energy consuming. While sitting in the classroom, Miyano tried to imitate Tanaka's expressionless face, but she made an extremely annoyed face that didn't look like Tanaka at all. Miyano decided to learn from Tanaka's cold, quiet personality, but Oota suddenly invited everyone to eat cake because he had just won 3 free tickets, and just heard the mention of food. Miyano's has clearly shown his gluttony. Tanaka's personality is very lazy, so even if he is hungry, he won't eat, so Oota often takes his friend down to the canteen to eat. It doesn't matter to Tanaka whether he eats or not, and the most important thing for him is sleep. Tanaka wishes he could live in a small room where he can get everything with his hands, but Oota thinks that he wants to live in a prison. There is no such room in the world. Seeing Tanaka buy green tea to drink, Miyano wanted to drink with him, but Miyano suddenly burst into tears because she wanted to drink strawberry milk, not tea. Later that day, Miyano made a report on insensitivity to Tanaka, but after reading it, Tanaka didn't understand at all, and he considered that emotionless personality was not suitable for a diligent person like Miyano. The next day, Tanaka and Oota were surprised to see Miyano perfectly show her emotionless personality. Even when she was late to school, she didn't care about the teacher at all. Feeling curious, Oota tried using a carton of strawberry milk to seduce Miyano, but Miyano still didn't pay attention to it even though she liked drinking strawberry milk very much. Seeing Miyano go straight to the construction site, Tanaka had to hold her, but at that moment she suddenly reverted to her jovial personality. Turns out, after watching a crappy movie, Miyano was afraid that the mascot would rule the earth, so she had been thinking since yesterday to find a way to save everyone in the world. Just then, Oota suddenly saw Tanaka standing thoughtfully in front of his shoe cabinet, and he was surprised to hear that Tanaka had just received a letter of challenge. Tanaka hates things like fish because to him, removing fish bones is like torture. Even fruits that have to be peeled he never eats. However, Tanaka still managed to remove the fish bones, making it a pile of mushi, so when Oota saw that, Oota had to remove the fish bones for his friend. In the end, Tanaka was able to finish his entire meal, but on his way back to class, he suddenly collapsed on the ground, because he usually eats very little, so he eats as much as he wants. Today, you have a lot of energy. When Oota asked about the challenge letter, Tanaka pretended not to know anything, but the challenger was a girl named Echizen who found Tanaka soon after, so Tanaka had to pretend to be asleep. Haven't heard anything. Echizen is surprised that Oota is also acquainted with Tanaka, and Echizen reveals that she used to be in the same gang as Oota, but Oota corrects that they only attended kindergarten together. Echizen said that she wanted to challenge Tanaka because she wanted to see what kind of person he was, but Tanaka was afraid of getting tired, so he refused her challenge. Echizen had no choice but to go along with Tanaka's suggestion to play games with less energy, so the two of them decided to play a game of Go against each other. Tanaka always skips turns because he has no interest in playing, but he still manages to write a blank letter in the middle of the board. When he saw Echizen looking hungry, Oota gave her a cake to eat temporarily, but the cake was shaped like a cute rabbit, so Echizen couldn't eat it. Continuing the match, they decided that this time they would both play a game of cards, and Tanaka showed off his skill in shuffling to the surprise of the other two, but in the middle of the shuffle, he stopped, let the wind blow the whole deck away. It turned out that one of Echizen's friends was greatly admiring Tanaka's emotionlessness, so Echizen wanted to see if Tanaka could overpower his friend's words. Tanaka and Oota were surprised to learn that Echizen's friend was Miyano, and Oota revealed that despite looking like a thug, Echizen actually likes cute things. Rushing to school, Oota and Tanaka ran into class president Shiraishi, and Shiraishi is a girl who is both good at studying and beautiful, so she is admired by many people. Shiraishi's security force quickly showed up to give Tanaka and Oota a blow, but luckily Shiraishi advised the raccoons to ignore the two of them, and was just touched by the idol. Those guys were so embarrassed. Knowing that Shiraishi was delivering documents to the printing room, Tanaka and Oota also wanted to help her, because they wanted to apologize to Shiraishi after accidentally bumping her. On the way to the printing room, Shiraishi was looked at by many people because of his beautiful appearance, but Tanaka had to cover his face with a shirt because he didn't like being noticed. After printing, Tanaka felt that the printed paper gave off an extremely warm aura, so he thought of using the pile of paper just finished as a pillow. When she was alone, Shiraishi quickly changed the way she dressed, and she also tied her hair up to make it more comfortable. In middle school, Shiraishi was a nerd, so no one played with her, so when she was in high school she tried to change herself to get more attention, but always had to keep that flashy hot girl look, made her feel very tired. Shiraishi didn't want her classmates to see her true self, but Oota and Tanaka suddenly came back because they forgot their school bag here, and they left without saying a word, which made Shiraishi feel very bewildered. The next day, Shiraishi feared that Tanaka and Oota had revealed that she was a nerd, but it seems that the two of them have not told anyone about it yet. Shiraishi had been keeping an eye on them for the rest of the day out of fear that they would reveal her secret, and during the experiment, Tanaka had told Oota to pull his hair up to avoid entanglement, but Shiraishi thought otherwise. That they are deliberately kicking me. However, Shiraishi discovered that they mistook her for someone else in the bun, so she was relieved to know her secret had not been revealed. Shiraishi is sure that people won't recognize her every time she changes her clothes, so she decides to dress up a bit from time to time to reduce fatigue. However, as soon as she saw Shiraishi, Tanaka recognized her immediately, so she had to confess her true self to the two of them in shame. Tanaka thinks that Shiraishi must have worked very hard to be able to live a double life, whereas he never tries hard just because he likes to be lazy, so he wants Shiraishi to be lazy. More confident about who you really are. Shiraishi felt relieved after hearing Tanaka's words of encouragement, and Tanaka and Oota promised not to tell this story to anyone. The next day, Shiraishi decided to wear glasses to everyone's surprise, but Oota still wondered how Tanaka recognized Shiraishi after the change. Tanaka asked Oota to go to the supermarket with him to buy some things for Tanaka's sister, and Tanaka learns that Oota also has a younger sister who is in middle school, but Tanaka imagines Oota's sister as well. Looks fierce like him. Tanaka's parents work far away, so the two of them are often alone at home, and when Oota heard that, he panicked because he thought they would starve to death from being lazy, but actually Tanaka's daughter is very diligent, not lazy like him. As soon as he entered the supermarket, Tanaka forgot that his sister asked him to buy something, so Oota guided him to buy daily essentials, and the women around everyone admired him. Oota for his bravery. Tanaka didn't know what to buy for his sister, so he bought a bunch of things just to be safe, but when he went to the supermarket, he guessed that she asked him to buy pancakes, because today was the last day. They promote her favorite pancake. However, the next day Tanaka sadly informs Oota that his sister didn't ask for pancakes, but actually asked her brother to buy a bottle of bathroom cleaner for her. From the time she wore glasses to class, everyone noticed that Shiraishi became more and more beautiful, and Shiraishi also started to have feelings for Tanaka after being encouraged by him before, but if Shiraishi becomes Tanaka's lover, then the bear certainly won't forgive him. Shiraishi thinks she will have to imitate Oota in order to be friends with Tanaka first, so she will have to lift weights to be able to carry Tanaka to class the way Oota usually does. Shiraishi decides to pretend to bump into Tanaka to have a chance to befriend him, but when she sees Shiraishi hiding on the side of the road, Oota thinks she's planning on knocking someone down. When asked about Oota, Shiraishi was delighted that Tanaka didn't have a girlfriend, so she wanted to be Tanaka's first best friend of the opposite sex, but she didn't expect that Miyano was also quite close to Tanaka. Soon after, Miyano found Shiraishi because she discovered that Shiraishi was often peeking at Tanaka, so she dragged Shiraishi to meet Tanaka so that she could talk to him directly. Shiraishi took this opportunity to actively ask to be friends with Tanaka, but in fact Tanaka had considered them friends for a long time. Today, Oota suddenly saw Tanaka come to school wet like a rat because of the rain, but actually Tanaka brought an umbrella, just because he was lazy, he didn't use it, and Tanaka also didn't like using an umbrella because carrying an umbrella was quite a burden for him. While watching the rain, Shiraishi wished to share an umbrella with Tanaka once, but she panicked when she saw Tanaka standing alone in the rain. As it turns out, Tanaka wanted to evolve to be able to adapt to the environment like animals, and Tanaka believes that if he stands in the rain long enough he will evolve into a water-resistant human, but Shiraishi thinks that before, if he had the ability to resist water, he would have died of a cold. Later that day, Shiraishi was very emotional when he was able to share an umbrella with Tanaka on the way home, because Oota's house was located in the other direction so he couldn't go with Tanaka. The next day, Tanaka went to school wet again, and this time he tried to get through the rain to go to school so he wouldn't get wet, but Oota advised him to cover up next time. Oh go! Due to too much rain to evolve, Tanaka caught a cold just as Shiraishi predicted, and now he can't speak normally because of a sore throat. Tanaka and Oota wrote words on paper so that they could exchange information. Today, Tanaka forgot to bring his history book, so Oota asked him to go to the next class to borrow Echizen's, and Echizen's last name was too difficult to write, so he asked Echizen to change his last name to Oota or Tanaka. Oota was a bit confused because Tanaka didn't write words to communicate anymore, and he assumed that maybe Tanaka was trying to open up his telepathic ability so that he wouldn't have to talk. After Tanaka recovered from the illness, Oota suddenly felt that he was more agile than usual, and it turned out that while wearing a mask, Tanaka had trained his facial muscles, so he is now so active. Last time she went to borrow a history book, Tanaka asked Echizen whether she would prefer the surname Tanaka or Oota, and after being asked that, she thought that the two of them were in love with her. Echizen timidly went to their class to talk, but Oota thought she was coming to challenge Tanaka like last time, so Oota suggested that the two of them play finger wrestling to save energy. However, the thought of holding Tanaka's hand made Echizen unbearably embarrassed, and she didn't know which of them to choose to be her lover. After consulting Miyano, Echizen decided to choose Tanaka, but when Echizen was about to fall, he was caught by Oota, causing her to shyly run away, and because she was not careful, she fell face down the stairs. Oota saw that and immediately picked Echizen up to take her to the infirmary, but Echizen struggled so hard that Oota accidentally dropped her to the ground. Soon after, Echizen met Tanaka with Oota to clear things up, and it turned out that Echizen's last name was too difficult to write, so Tanaka asked her to change it to Tanaka or Oota for ease of writing, but when she found out about everything, it was only a misunderstanding that Echizen felt extremely embarrassed. Tanaka suddenly receives a box of chocolates on Valentine's Day, but Tanaka doesn't like it because he thinks love is an extremely troublesome thing. Tanaka also revealed that the person also sent Oota a bar of chocolate candy, and Oota was overjoyed to hear that. The sender also left Tanaka a very suspicious message, but because he did not leave his name, Tanaka did not know who the person was. Tanaka and Oota suspect that the chocolate giver might be Miyano, because the only Tanaka admirer they know so far is only the little girl, but they find out. It turns out that Miyano forgot to make chocolates for the two of them. Thinking about it for a long time, the two generals decided to try this box of chocolates too, and Tanaka was surprised because his box of chocolates tasted really good, but Oota was given a bar. Dark chocolate has a terrible bitter taste that cannot be swallowed. Tanaka had to share some of his chocolate with Oota, and after tasting it, Oota guessed that the giver might be Shiraishi, because other than Miyano, only Shiraishi talked to them. However, the two young men discovered that Shiraishi did not make chocolates to give to anyone, so they continued to have a headache thinking about who gave them the chocolates. On the way home, the two young men suddenly met Tanaka's younger sister Rhino, and Oota was surprised because she looked exactly like Tanaka. Rhino asked Tanaka to invite Oota to their house to play, and Tanaka also wanted Oota to know his home so that next time Oota would bring him home too. As soon as he got home, Rhino made Oota a cup of horribly bitter black coffee, and on the outside, he looked quite similar, but Rhino was a very diligent person, completely different from his lazy brother. Oota told Rhino about what he and Tanaka used to do in class, and Tanaka also told her about being given chocolates by someone this morning. As it started to get dark, Tanaka took Oota to the train station to let him go home, and it turns out that the person who gave Tanaka and Oota chocolate this morning was Rhino. However, she gave Oota a dark chocolate bar to hate, because she didn't like Tanaka being close to anyone but herself, and because she was too embarrassed, she didn't write back. Put your name on that box of chocolates. Today Oota suddenly missed school for some reason, and Tanaka asked Echizen to give Oota homework because the two of them are neighbors, but Echizen forced Tanaka to give it to Oota himself. Thank you for the times he carried Tanaka to school. Since Tanaka didn't know Oota's house, Echizen accepted to give him directions, and Tanaka wondered why Echizen always looked like a thug. However, along the way, Tanaka saw a lot of people thanking Echizen after receiving her help, so Tanaka was sure that she looked delinquent on the outside but was a kind girl on the inside. When he saw Tanaka coming to his house to give him his homework, Oota was deeply touched, and he did not expect a lazy guy like Tanaka to accept such sacrifices for his friends. Before leaving, Tanaka also told Echizen to continue acting as a thug at school as usual, but now that her personality changes suddenly, Tanaka will be shocked. The next day, Oota said that he had accidentally fallen down the stairs while helping an old woman, so now he is seriously injured and can't walk. Tanaka decided that this time he would be the one to help Oota, but because Oota was too heavy, Tanaka couldn't carry Oota, so Tanaka could only sit still with Oota to save his friend's pain. In times of illness, Oota wished their school had a conveyor belt to move around, and Tanaka agreed with both hands when he heard Oota's idea. Every time he went to self-study, Tanaka fell asleep, but when he was sleeping, he suddenly woke up from a nightmare, and Tanaka dreamed that he was forced to play sports by a coach. Continuous sports. Although he loves to sleep, Tanaka still has to finish the English homework assigned by his teacher, and Oota thinks English is extremely important because it is the most popular language in the world, but Tanaka wants the whole world. The world always speaks Japanese so that he doesn't have to learn foreign languages anymore. While studying, the school held an evacuation drill when the fire broke out, so all the students had to hurry down to gather in the schoolyard, but everyone panicked when Tanaka was nowhere to be seen. Right after that, Tanaka tiredly went down to the schoolyard to gather with everyone, and it turned out that he was usually carried by Oota, so today he lost his way when he had to go alone. After a day of self-reliance made Tanaka realize the importance of Oota, so Tanaka decided to name today Oota Day in honor of him. Tanaka said that he was going to campaign for a day on his own to celebrate Oota's day, but seeing him walking around like a turtle, Oota had to carry him along to avoid being late for school. Oota invited Tanaka to a fast food restaurant in the city to eat ice cream, but Tanaka didn't like the staff here because their service speed was too fast for him. As soon as she saw Tanaka coming to order, the clerk thought he was dying, and when she couldn't order her favorite food, the atmosphere around him became even more gloomy. Fearing that Tanaka would spill the drink on the floor, the staff member brought it to his table, and had just smoked a few times. Tanaka almost fainted from lack of breath, but the employee thought it's Tanaka who hates me because the store doesn't have his favorites. When she saw the staff in the store working hard, Tanaka felt great respect for them, but the female employee was afraid of Oota's delinquent face, and she thought that maybe these two would block them. I'm back to plunder after working hours. Tanaka said that at first he didn't like the hustle and bustle of the fast food restaurant, but when he was served by the dedicated staff, he felt extremely comfortable, only he still couldn't drink water here. The saleswoman who was handing out flyers suddenly became alarmed when she saw Tanaka and Oota go out, but they gently thanked her for the delicious food, so she accepted. They are also kind people, not thugs like they appear on the outside. The next day, Oota asked Tanaka to go to a fast food restaurant for this month's special, but Oota suddenly found out that he had left his phone at school, so he told Tanaka to wait here while he goes back to school to find his phone. A blonde girl was looking for a seat when she suddenly panicked when she saw Tanaka lying under the chair, and Rino was also surprised to see her brother here. As it turns out, the blonde girl is Rino's best friend named Saya, and Saya has an extremely shy personality, so Rino always has to speak for her friend. Rino felt very happy because the two brothers rarely had the opportunity to eat together, and Saya suddenly whispered to Rino that Tanaka was pure and handsome like a prince. When Rino runs off to buy water, Saya says that she also has an older brother around Tanaka's age, but her brother is as big as a chimpanzee, not a student like him. Oota just ran to the store when he was surprised to see Saya here, and Oota told everyone that Saya was his little sister, but Rino felt extremely uncomfortable seeing it. I see Oota is here too. Oota didn't expect Saya to be as close to Rino as he was to Tanaka. And that night Tanaka couldn't eat rice because she ate too many fries in the afternoon, so Rino blamed it all on Oota for asking her brother out for snacks. It was quite hot today, so Tanaka had to go to the pool with Oota, and because he couldn't swim, Tanaka had to use the float like a child, but he thought that just going to the pool to cool down would be fine. Tanaka again imagined turning Oota into a buoy for herself. Oota had advised Tanaka to warm up carefully before entering the pool to avoid cramping, but as soon as he warmed up, Tanaka immediately cramped due to inactivity for a long time. While lying in the pool, Tanaka was ridiculed by some kids for being big and using a float, and the kids had purposely stolen Tanaka's buoy to disturb his sleep, but just saw his face. Of Oota, everyone is afraid. As soon as Tanaka's float was deflated, the kids were even more scared, because they thought it was them who caused the float to deflate. Since there were no more buoys, this time Tanaka decided that he would float on his own, and both Oota and the other two children followed him and let themselves float with the current. The next day, on their way to school, Tanaka and Oota met the two boys at the pool again, and the two of them said that they had shown their classmates how to float like Tanaka. Miyano suddenly asked Tanaka to help her grow 10 centimeters in 5 days, but growing taller in such a short period of time is impossible. Turns out, Echizen had invited Miyano to go to the fireworks festival with her, and Miyano wanted to wear kimono that day to make herself look a little more attractive, but she was too short to only have one. I can only wear kimonos for children. Oota suggested that everyone go together to find a kimono for Miyano after school, and Miyano also asked Shiraishi to go with them because she has great taste in clothes. However, Shiraishi has never worn a kimono before, because she's been sitting at home watching fireworks on TV ever since. Miyano was suddenly overjoyed when she discovered a pair of high heels, and if she put them on, Miyano might grow 10 centimeters tall. Soon after, when Shiraishi tried on a kimono, Tanaka and Oota were amazed at Shiraishi's beauty, and after being praised by Tanaka she felt very happy, but it seems Miyano still she didn't fit into any kimono, even though she was wearing high heels. Seeing no results, Shiraishi said that she would sew a kimono that would suit Miyano herself, because Shiraishi had to learn all kinds of skills including sewing in order to be the center of attention when she went to school. On the day of the festival, Miyano was wearing a kimono made for her by Shiraishi, and Echizen also went to the meeting place with everyone in a normal kimono, yet Tanaka and Oota thought what she would wear. Kimono set for people. Right after that, the four of them happily participated in the festival like everyone else, but due to his short height, Miyano couldn't see the fireworks. During the school's cultural festival, Tanaka's class decided that they would build a haunted house, and Tanaka erased his presence because he didn't like attending the festival. But due to the lack of people in the class, Shiraishi had to ask Tanaka and Oota to act as ghosts. While everyone was discussing, Tanaka just wanted to go home to sleep, and everyone was surprised at her stealth ability. So people thought that choosing Tanaka to act as a ghost was a completely correct decision. However, during the rehearsal, Tanaka just stood still and didn't move at all, so Miyano suggested that Tanaka sit still and then the others would shine the light on him, but just sit still for a while. Tanaka will fall asleep immediately. The game of sticking your hand out of the paper door will be done by Oota, but Oota is so tall that people can't see his hand. Shiraishi borrowed a ghost costume for Tanaka, and when he learned that Tanaka and Oota were going to pretend to be ghosts, Echizen was amused. After a day of hard work, everyone finished the haunted house, but looking at Tanaka's face sitting in the well, it didn't look scary at all. Oota suddenly panicked, saying that he couldn't pretend to be a ghost, because he looks like a thug but he's actually extremely afraid of ghosts, so Miyano decided that she would pretend to be a ghost. Right after that, Miyano pretended to be a cat yukai to scare others, but everyone thought she was too cute and not scared at all, so a lot of people went to the house ghost to be photographed with the little girl. Meanwhile, Tanaka was voted as the scariest ghost, because everyone was scared just seeing his lifeless face. At lunchtime, Tanaka felt that the atmosphere was too noisy, so he went to find a quieter place. And Tanaka had accidentally seen Echizan in a maid outfit while walking past her class, but Tanaka had pretended not to see anything to save her embarrassment. Tanaka decided to go to the rooftop to rest in peace, and when he saw Tanaka, Oota thought he was a real ghost, so Oota was so scared that he fainted because he was counting. Fear of ghosts. Tanaka sat next to Oota until someone found them, and now that the festival was over, they had to go back to class to help clean up. Today, all the students in Tanaka's class will have to switch seats, and no one wants to be moved to the front desk. Tanaka was confident that he himself would never have to sit at the front desk, but after changing seats, Tanaka was seated right in front of the teacher. Miyano was seated right behind Oota, so she couldn't see anything on the board. Tanaka immediately took the opportunity to ask to switch places with Miyano, and he successfully turned Oota into a strong shield for him to sleep comfortably. After moving, Shiraishi was seated right next to Tanaka, and she wanted to take this opportunity to talk to Tanaka more, but Tanaka just slept until the time she left. Shiraishi used all kinds of beauties to seduce Tanaka, and after trying for a while, Tanaka also noticed her a bit, but she thought that this approach didn't look right. Very righteous. Shiraishi decided to help Tanaka whenever he was in trouble, but his friend Oota was so good that Tanaka always got help from him when he was in trouble, so Shiraishi didn't have a chance to talk to Tanaka. However, that afternoon, Shiraishi accidentally saw Tanaka oversleeping in class, and her classmates accidentally saw Tanaka with her after school. The next day, classmates came to question Tanaka because they suspected that he had just had a girlfriend, and at that time Shiraishi changed her dress so no one recognized her. Tanaka also promised Shiraishi before that he wouldn't tell anyone about her true self, so Tanaka didn't know how to justify it to his friends. Oota says that after Tanaka has a girlfriend, Oota won't be able to go home with him anymore, but Tanaka asks Oota to take them both home as well, and Miyano is very upset because Tanaka has a girlfriend. Without telling the girl. After school, everyone followed Tanaka but didn't see anyone with him, and Shiraishi texted Oota to explain to him that yesterday's girl was me. The next day, his friends apologized to Tanaka for suspecting that he had just had a girlfriend, and after this troublesome incident he decided that he would never have a girlfriend again, so Shiraishi was extremely panicked when I heard that. Thank you for watching the full video review. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button along with the bell button to receive notifications when the channel releases new videos.